Hey guys. So I was actually just watching these cinematics again, and despite the writing, there are some really good moments in these. So this is the Anduin one. Um so a lot of people have a problem with this one, especially where is it? This part right here with Bolvar, not Bolvar, um Marion and Sourfang. Everyone's like, what the hell are they doing there? Well, they're not actually there. You gotta remember, this is a moment where Anduin is being dominated by not only domination magic, but he's also wielding a Mournblade with Arthas's spirit in it. And we see Arthas at the very end as like this small, insignificant wisp, just a fragment of what he used to be. And yet somehow that small bit of him was stronger than Anduin, and it was controlling him. And only, in order to break free, he had to look in himself and get courage and the strength from two central father figures who, you know, and I think I talked about this in the last video, but Varian and Sourfang both were father figures, both guided him, showed him what it meant to be courageous and honorable, and to, you know, sacrifice, sacrifice yourself if need be for the greater cause. Um, so when he's being dominated by this, domination magic, he needs this strength from someone. So he's envisioning in his greatest moment of need the two figures who he sees as the most heroic and the strongest people he knows. So they're not really there. They're not really there. It's he's trying to summon the courage of them to break free from that domination. And when we finally do, we see Arthas, and it's a great scene because we see the four people who are intimately familiar with Arthas. Anduin, not so much. There's only one moment that, well, apart from being dominated, he didn't actually come in contact with Arthas, when he was alive, Arthas. Basically, Arthas came to see Tiffin Rin when Anduin was born, and so people thought, okay, maybe Arthas is actually Anduin's real father and not Varian because of the whole blonde hair thing. Because Varian, he's got brown hair. Arthas has blonde. Anduin has blonde. Anduin and Arthas very similar looking. So people for a while thought that Anduin was actually Arthas's son. Little theory there, but he did interact, and this was in a book. This was not in game, but Arthas did come to visit. So he interacted with baby Anduin, but Anduin was so small he doesn't remember that. We have Uther, obviously helped raise Arthas, taught him the ways of the Paladin of the Light, this and that, was a great friend, family. Arthas killed Uther, so Uther knows much about Arthas. Jaina, oh, she's very intimately familiar with them. She's also intimately familiar with Kael'thas, which, for a guy who was, a couple hundred years old at that point, he's a good-looking guy. Blood elves, man. They look at Lorthamar. That man's got fucking battle damage, and he's clearly aged, but he's still a good-looking fella. Very. If he went out and tried to find a lucky lady, he would have no problem doing that. And obviously, Sylvanas didn't get to know Arthas when he was alive. She just knows Arthas the Lich King, or Arthas the Death Knight, rather. She knows him when he marched to Quel'Thalas to try to resurrect Kel'Thuzad and the Sunwell, and yeah, that's pretty much what she remembers of him. She doesn't. She never got to know the prince, the fighter, defender of Lordaeron. She just knows the Death Knight who killed her. But she's kind of talking about Arthas and how she, hated him and hunted him, and every time she did something that she slowly became him. Which, I mean, you have a lot of villains. Essentially, that's what happens to them. They become the very thing they hunt. The demon becomes the demon, or the demon hunter becomes the demon. So she said, "Oh, I hate Arthas. I'm going to hunt him and this and that." But then she does things, and little by little, she becomes Arthas. Hell, even Garrosh in one of the Silverpine Forest quests, when she brought Garrosh there to show him about with the Valkyr and raising the dead, he even says, "What difference is there between you and the Lich King now?" I mean, he's basically saying, he's like, you're raising these people to fight, instead of letting them rest in peace, you're making them undead. What difference is there between you and him now? You're becoming the very thing you fought against. But then she comes back with her, isn't it obvious, War Chief? I fight for the Horde. But then he comes back with a "watch your clever mouth, bitch." Of course, they remove the bitch part. It's not in the game anymore, which is stupid, with a great line. But this little wisp, she even says, "No crown, no throne, not even a spirit left for judgment," because it's not him anymore. It's whatever little bit, it's tiny, like 0.01% of him, and yet that was enough to control and dominate Anduin. But she's like, she's like, "Be gone, Arthas Menethil." And despite the fact she hates him, she could have said, nothing at all. But she refers to him as Arthas Menethil, not Death Knight, not Lich King, not monster, not any derogatory name, but by his true name, Arthas Menethil. And obviously, Jaina and Uther, when she says, when Sylvanas says, "Let the last whisper of your name fade and be forgotten," they, as you can see, Uther looks physically upset, because once that little thing fades, Arthas is gone. There's no more Arthas at all. There's no resurrecting him. That's it. So, as much damage as this man has caused, and Jaina looks the same way, kind of sad. They want to remember the good Arthas, the man who was, from the day he was born, the very force of Lordaeron whispered the name Arthas. He was like, he was the chosen one, that kind of thing. So this little flicker of Arthas, as it's fading, they think this is it. The Arthas that they knew is gone now completely. And it is, especially when they first show it, like the moment right here, when it first comes out, they play the music that plays after you beat him on Icecrown. I'll just go ahead and play it. All right, so I'm gonna play this. I think it should be like right here. But listen to the music and then, think back to that. "Father, is it over?" That's exactly the same music. So.
Arthas.
Is this all that remains of him?
The last flicker of his scarred spirit, consumed in the forges of the jailer.
No crown, no throne, not even a soul left for judgment. I hated you, hunted you, and with each selfish act, became you. That is my burden to bear. But your legacy is at an end.
Now, you also notice that Anduin and Jaina, when she says that his legacy is at an end, they kind of realize, and it hits them what that means. This is the last anyone's going to see of Arthas or hear of Arthas, unless people do bring up and tell the stories of how he fought for Lordaeron before he, became a douchebag. How he was this wielder of light, paladin, honorable man. But you can see that, that it's clear to them what's happening here. So then we have, I don't think it's in this one. Let's actually go, hang on. All right, then we have this cinematic of the jailer being defeated. So he gets defeated, his flesh slowly comes off, and he's reduced to his prototype form. You can see this still scarred, because they weren't just carved into his flesh, they were carved into him. Now, there's a pretty cool theory about the Primus, saying that the Primus is actually the real jailer, or essentially the one who's pulling the strings the entire time. Because when you see the jailer, notice he doesn't have his collar anymore. Now, I think Anduin had that same type of collar, and it was a domination collar. And who was that who put the collar on him? That's right, the Primus. The Primus, also the one who carved all the, the symbols into his flesh. So it's said that maybe the Primus was the jailer at first, controlling Zoval with this domination magic, but Zoval eventually did break free of it. Because it said that the Primus doesn't lose. The only time he loses is when he wants to lose. So it's possible that the Primus isn't that just friendly old man that we know. If you look at Maldraxxus, the giant statues, you see that skeletal type figure. People thinking that's what actually the Primus looks like, and that the old mask, or not mask, but the old man we see is just like a mask, because you can see like the teeth, like almost like skeletal teeth. So they put it, it's basically akin to one of those glasses with the little mustaches on them. You just put them onto. That's basically what they're saying the Primus actually is that skeletal figure, but to not look so horrific, because he would look very different than his siblings. Even Zoval looks normal. Denathrius, the Winter Queen, Archon, all of them look normal. And then you have the Primus, who looks skeletal and gruesome and grotesque. So he wears, it's saying that he kind of like wears a mask to come off more appealing, essentially. Like I said, it's just one of those little glasses you put on with a mustache. But about this cinematic, one of the cool parts about it, the theory is same thing that with Sylvanas, when she said not to let him get to, he must not reach, and then she, was out. basically he was talking, and so he was saying a sentence, domination magic. So his sentence was cut off. He never got to finish his sentence. So when that domination magic fades, the first thing he says, his last words, are essentially what he was saying before he was put under domination magic. So like Sylvanas, before she died, it was, about Arthas not letting him get to, the Sunwell and all that. So he's here. This is him before he's dominated. And then, he's talking about the cosmic entities that they need to prepare for, and how the cycle is bad and they serve something that's broken and this and that. And then he says that a cosmos divided cannot stand against what's to come, but he never got to finish his sentence. So when he finally does, like right here, when he says cosmos divided will not survive, and then after he's beaten, after that domination magic wears off, that's when he finally says what's to come, and those are his last words. So after eons, he finally got to finish his sentence. But I never noticed, it looks like the electro symbol in Genshin. That's pretty cool. Anyways. But this whole thing, this whole cinematic, the fact that the Primus is the one that's the shadowy figure. We see the Winter Queen, we see the Archon, we see Denathrius. The Primus is the only one we don't see. He's the overarching kind of figure here. So it's also that people are like, why is it that they're not showing him? I guess it's because mainly he's right in front of Zoval, so be like, well, why would they show him? Everyone else is kind of like behind him or on the other side of him, and they're kind of like going around, but he's right in front of him looking down. So they think that him standing over Zoval like that and not being shown is kind of like symbolism. And here we hear like his actual voice, his non-dominated voice, stuff like that. But him saying about this whole cosmic entity that we need to be come together to fight. We have the Devourers that were introduced in Shadowlands, these like beings from like outside realms, and they came to the Shadowlands. They're just devouring space and everything there. So it's like, okay, well, they're there. Who is their master? Or do they serve a void? I mean, are they going to be a big bad? Why do they look like, Titan stuff mixed with, like Gahoon? They're saying like Gahoon looks like he's one of these Devourers. That like the Titans took like old god stuff and these Devourers and just smashed them together and made Gahoon. But so there's some force, and I've said before, I'm not into that whole cosmic stuff right now. I just want to be an adventurer again. I mean, we've had the Pantheon of Death, so it's I don't want any more cosmic stuff for another expansion or two. Blizzard themselves said that we're not going to have any cosmic main threats. There'll be stuff of it in the background, like whispers of it, kind of like what Sargeras used to be. He was just whispers. People like, oh yeah, the Dark Titan and this and that. But Yeah, but to think that there's a threat out there, because at first we thought it was just a pantheon, the Titan pantheon, and then all of a sudden there's the Death pantheon in the Shadowlands, the eternal ones, and then we also find out about the first ones, and then there's going to be the firster ones, and then the firster ones, or the firster ones. It's like, how far does this cosmic hierarchy go? We've got, like, they're called the first ones, but, like, are they the enemy here? Are they actually the ones who created everything? Or, but uh but this, despite the writing, the fact that there's more enemies, some of them closer to home. We have Ajara that we still have to deal with. We have Xalatath, Nightfu, who's fucking partying it up somewhere in the cosmos. Like I said, Ajara is somewhere in the cosmos. Ajara, fuck, she's already super powerful. Imagine if she did obtain some fucking ultimate power from the cosmos. Xalatath, I don't know. I'm still on the fence about her, because she is part of an old god, but she does seem kind of fond of us. So it's very possible that we might have an old goddish kind of ally, but then the old gods say that they're not the enemy, that we serve the same master and this and that, and even I think Nizal said something about needing him for what's to come, because they can see all possible futures and outcomes. And so N'Zoth, even him, saw something same as Zoval. So it makes you wonder, what exactly did these guys see? Because if Zoval said that there's something even bigger out there that needs people to band together, if N'Zoth said something, he's an old god, and people are like, don't trust them. But they're like, we're serving the same person, the same master. You need me, because we need to, for what's to come. Something that even, if it's something that even the old gods fear, if they can see every outcome and possibility, then they know what's possibly coming, and that's what N'Zoth is trying to get us to do, it seems. That's why I said I don't, people think N'Zoth isn't gone. I think someone from Blizzard in an interview, I can't remember who, but even they said that seems like they're not really gone, and that Visions of N'Zoth was just that. Visions of N'Zoth. You saw what he wanted you to see. We didn't actually beat him. That was just one possibility he allowed us to see. So he's still somewhere, probably regaining strength, but hopefully they drop a hint of this bigger cosmic threat sometime soon, within the next expansion or so. Like I said, N'Zoth mentioned it in Battle for Azeroth. Zoval mentioned it here. So there's something. And actually, when you think about it, we have a bunch of bad guys who could essentially become allies. We have Xalatath, who is an old god, or part of an old god, who could essentially be an ally. Like I said, she is, despite her, attitude, she is fond of us. We did take care of her. We kept her safe. We helped her out, and we kept our promises. So, despite the fact that she's part of an old god, I think she is kind of fond of us. You have Sargeras, the Dark Titan himself, being taken care of by Illidan and his siblings, or not Illidan's siblings, Sargeras' siblings. They're having chit chats, talking about Sargeras, why'd you do it? Why? And then he's explaining himself. So I think they're having a little group therapy session. Not only to have the Pantheon, but Sargeras, the strongest of the Pantheon, to have him back on our side would be amazing. People like the Eternals, the Eternal ones, the Eternals, not them. The Eternal ones would be someone like the Primus. Would be great to have on our side. So we have Fel, which would be Sargeras. We have Order, the Pantheon, Death, these guys. So it seems like we're going to make friends of every cosmic force. And we're going to come together, and the final big bad, or whatever, is going to be this one thing. The seventh that apparently, or it could be that seventh thing that they're talking about. So hopefully we can turn villains or foes into friends. Like I said, not Arthas. Why do I keep wanting to say Arthas? Sargeras. To have him back on our side would be amazing. Not only because it's Sargeras, but he can also command the demons. I don't think the demons would work for anyone else apart from him. Like, if, say, Amanthul just try to command them, they're like, fuck you. But Sargeras did, they're like, yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, I think we're going to be changing people into allies, and that's going to help us build, like, this small force. We also got the light we have to deal with. Ural, fucking alternate Draenor, she's gone fucking crazy with Tower. And she's like forcing people to become, to the light. So we've got to deal with her at some point. And then maybe make her an ally again. She was an ally. Now she's a fucking light forged dictator. So, and then we're going to turn her back. Terrellian might become a villain at some point, and then have a good smack back to reality. But I think the cinematic, despite how bad the writing was, it did bring up something that was talked about before by N'Zoth, and it lets us know something else is up there, or out there rather. This was still stupid. It's like, oh, he's dead. Time to close up. But yeah, these cinematics, despite how sloppy the writing seemed, they did have some really good moments. And it really opens up a whole other discussion about what's to come and what is possibly what else is out there. And there's, just off the top of my head, like I said, Azshara, we can fight. She might become an ally too. We might beat her so many fucking times that she's like, okay, I give up. I'm fighting for you guys. Xalatath, Galakrond, the Light, more fucking old gods. So there's so many things just on the, Azeroth. Hell, Azeroth itself. She could fall and we'd have to fight her and snap her back to reality. Then there's still stuff in the Emerald Dream. Remember, there's a remnant of the void in the Emerald Dream that hasn't been taken care of. So we're going to have to go back to the Emerald Dream at some point. So there's so many things that can be done. I would love to go to the Emerald Dream, by the way. I want to go there as an actual zone, like they promised us back in, 2005, 2006. They're like, oh yeah, we got the Emerald Dream. There's going to be some really cool stuff going on there, especially for druids. No, never happened. Never happened. They're like, oh, it's still coming. We're working on it. And then it's like, yeah, we're not doing that. It's too big, and it doesn't really fit into any of the stories. But now they have a reason to go back because we have a remnant of the void in the Emerald Dream. So we're gonna have to go back there. We have Murozond that we still have to take out at some point after Nozdormu, falls to madness and stuff like that. So we have a lot that we can still do. But honestly, after you take on a fucking death god, I mean, that's what Zoval was. He's essentially death itself and domination and all that. How a dragon, that's not a big deal. Now, Galakrond, maybe. The guy fucking ate dragons, spit them back out as reanimated corpses. So, but Murozond, and stuff like that, I don't see how we even have to worry about them. But anyways, let me know what you guys think. I'm tired. I'm done ranting. You guys know the drill. I'll see you guys later. Bye, guys.